Welcome to another edition of the Explainer. Today, we are completely shifting your role. You are no longer just a student sitting at a desk. Starting right now, you are a historical detective, and we're about to embark on a massive 39-week investigation into modern world history. We're going to be opening up cold cases, examining ancient evidence, and piecing together the very events that built the world you live in today. But before we can time travel, we have to start with this huge overarching question. How do we actually uncover the truth about the past? You see, history isn't just memorizing dates, it's a highly active process of gathering clues, cross-examining sources, and building an airtight case about what really happened. And honestly, more importantly, why it happened. So here is our docket of historical mysteries. First, we'll look at the Historical Detective Toolkit. Then we dive into Unit 1, the Middle Ages. After that is Unit 2, Changing World, followed by Unit 3, Modern Times. And finally, we'll wrap up by connecting past to present. Let's jump right into Part 1, the Historical Detective Toolkit. Because before we travel through time, we definitely need to pack our gear. The absolute most powerful tool in your entire kit is evidence-based reasoning. This is the process of drawing logical conclusions by citing several pieces of textual evidence to support an analysis. You can't just make a wild claim about the past based on a hunch, right? You have to cross-examine historical texts, find the hard proof, and use it to completely back up your claims. So, here's how that actually works in practice. Step 1, you read a complex historical text. Maybe it's a primary source from a medieval monk or an ancient map. Step 2, you extract the key details. You're hunting for the who, what, where, when, and why. Then, Step 3, you synthesize those clues to build a compelling historical argument. It's literally like piecing together a giant puzzle of human history, one document at a time. Our core directive here requires you to cite textual evidence to support an analysis of explicit text, as well as inferences drawn from it. That word right there, inferences, is absolutely key. It means reading between the lines. People in the past didn't always write down exactly what they were thinking or planning. Being able to draw solid inferences is exactly what separates a passive reader from a truly active, top-tier detective. So here is the roadmap for our 39-week chronological tour. We have 3 massive eras to cover, and each one takes about 13 weeks. This is where we shift our focus from the how of our toolkit directly into the epic what of human history. All right, let's open up our very first case file. Unit 1, the Middle Ages. Now, when a lot of people hear the phrase Middle Ages, they immediately picture knights in shining armor in Europe. But we're looking at a truly global scope here. We're going to be investigating medieval China, incredibly diverse empires across Africa, the shogunates of Japan, the kingdoms of Europe, and the complex civilizations of the Americas. The real mystery is figuring out how these incredibly diverse, widespread civilizations operated during the exact same era. Which brings us to the essential question. How did medieval societies organize power, belief, trade, and daily life? You're going to investigate exactly how geography shaped the unique cultural developments of these regions. Why did a massive empire in West Africa develop so differently from an island society in Japan? Geography and trade provide the ultimate clues for sure. For instance, look at how medieval Europe and Japan utilized feudal systems, these highly localized power structures relying mostly on regional trade. Compare that directly to medieval China, which organized under a massive imperial system just to fuel the expansive trade network known as the Silk Road. As detectives, you'll constantly be contrasting these systems to understand how power and resources actually flowed in the ancient world. Okay, moving right along to Part 3, Unit 2, Changing Worlds. Our investigation really heats up here as we encounter some explosive historical events. We'll be digging into the artistic explosion of the Renaissance, the religious fractures of the Reformation, the scientific awakenings of the Enlightenment, and the bloody political revolutions that followed. Finally, we'll see how industrialization completely changed the fabric of daily life. The core of this unit is investigating how completely new, radical ideas transform society from the ground up. And because this era is all about complex ideas, we have to lean heavily on another essential investigative technique, determining a theme or central idea and analyzing its development. You'll literally track how an explosive idea like human rights or revolution starts as just a whisper in a philosophical text and develops into a roar that topples entire empires. Which brings us to Part 4, Unit 3, Modern Times. The crucial point here is the massive shift in scale.
Think back to Unit 1, where our case files focused heavily on isolated regional feudal systems. The world felt huge and societies were relatively disconnected. But by Unit 3, the world shrinks. We shift our focus to massive global conflicts and the deep, deep interconnectedness of the modern era. An event in one hemisphere now triggers an immediate, devastating reaction in another.
And that interconnectedness brings us to a series of monumental global events. We're going to outline the rise of nationalism and imperialism, and analyze how the aggressive expansion of empires directly caused the devastating impacts of World War I and World War II. Finally, we'll investigate the intense global standoff of the Cold War. The stakes in these case files, quite frankly, couldn't be any higher. When you're investigating global conflict, analyzing perspectives becomes absolutely essential. You have to assess how point of view or purpose shapes the content and style of a text. When you're reading a primary source about World War I or the Cold War, you always have to ask, who wrote this? What did their nation stand to gain? Analyzing differing perspectives is the only real way to uncover the complex causes of these global conflicts, without just taking one side's word for it. And finally, Part 5, Connecting Past to Present. Honestly, this is the most important phase of our investigation. We revisit the ultimate essential question of the course. How did conflict and connection shape the modern world? Everything you've investigated, from medieval trade routes to the Industrial Revolution to the Cold War, provides the exact evidence you need. Now your job is to synthesize all those clues to answer this fundamental question. You're going to analyze global conflict, compare those varying perspectives, and connect historical events to current global issues. Because, let's be real, the ultimate goal of reading and writing about history isn't just to pass a test. It's to clearly understand the incredibly complex world you live in right now, today. Which leaves us with one final provocative question for you to ponder. How will the conflicts of the past shape your future? As historical detectives, you now have the toolkit to understand exactly where we came from. But more importantly, you are empowered to use those analytical skills to navigate and maybe even change your own future. Keep asking questions, keep digging for evidence, and never stop investigating.